wrote a very gutsy op-ed piece, but he's wearing a really funny hat. This is not good. You know, by the time I get to the Friday program, which for regular viewers of Dan Yorke's State of Mind, and by the way, next week we come up on our 2nd anniversary for the show, so thank you for watching so much and keeping it on the air. And as it grows, 7:30, 11:30 on MyRide TV, now on Fox Providence. That's a big thank you. I get pretty punchy, and then when the second-ranked elected official in the state comes in with a hat on, the wheels come off. But we'll see if we can't keep some decorum for some pretty important conversations here this evening. Welcome into my State of Mind. You know, on Fridays we forego the rundown to talk about broader conversations and topics, including tonight education and the mess in Coventry, and see how much I can sneak in on Lieutenant Governor. But here's the op-ed piece that was published in the Providence Journal recently on a Sunday. Battle joined over Rhode Island choice, and I will tell you, as I read it, it was one of the gutsiest smash-mouth op-ed pieces I've seen in a long time. It actually belies a little bit of your style. That's embarrassing.
No,
what are you doing coming in with the hat on, man?
Well, it's a good day in Patriots Nation today.
Yes,
I didn't want to wear the
program
hoodie.
again recorded yesterday, Thursday.
Yes. I didn't want to wear the hoodie. It's a little warm out with the hoodie, but I had the hat on, and actually,
you have a thought on what happened here with the judge's decision since you've started the conversation in that direction?
I do, and I think it has a lot to do with leading on what we're talking about. That people can tell things, fly out misinformation all over the place, and eventually, when you challenge it, it doesn't hold water, and you have to own up to it. And I think that's what just happened to the NFL.
You say with a cocky look on your face? As we record this, my Giants are in town, but you know what? The game doesn't mean anything. After the first quarter, it's like, who are those guys anyway?
I don't like your Giants. They beat, when I went to Indianapolis, they beat the Patriots on the last play of the game. I didn't like that.
Well,
and you enjoyed that.
Well aware of that.
But you enjoyed that.
That's not breaking news.
Yes.
But there has been some breaking news when it comes to some education matters, and a Woonsocket charter school kind of saved by a judge, and we're going to talk about that. But overall, you're in the middle of a pretty serious dialogue about the schools. You have been a creator, co-creator, and head dude of the mayoral academies. Since you become lieutenant governor, you haven't stepped away from that mission at all, have you?
No, we've been working on small business friendliness, and we've been working on regionalization strategies, but the education has always been there, and now it's time to kind of bring that out, and that's why we came up with the op-ed at this moment in time. It's a very important time, Dan, where there are, the way I look at it, the people who have been trying to close down the mayoral academy and has kind of played every card, and they put it on the table, and that's what this op-ed is about, and that's what we're going to be talking about with the court case and the lawsuits that have been brought on by the Teachers Guild in Woonsocket, and recalls up and trying to take out town administrators over their Paulette Hamilton, who's been on your show, for stepping up and saying, hey, we can do better in our schools, and the mayoral academy is one of those ways to do it.
You write some pretty tough things. You write, what makes no sense is how status quo protectors are using the funding formula for education as a ploy to attempt to destroy Rhode Island's schools of choice. More alarming is the false information being used to persuade state legislators and local officials that revisiting the funding formula and killing the mayoral academies are somehow one and the same. And you say there's no evidence that public school choice is causing the fiscal collapse of any of the school districts. What kind of false information are we talking about here?
Well, the fact that there's this fiscal cliff that the schools of choice, in particular the mayoral academies, are causing the public schools right now. It's just not true. I mean, Cumberland is a good example, which has a very low per pupil cost, probably too low, but it's still doing very well. Since the time the mayoral academy opened up, I point out in the op-ed, they've been running surpluses. They, through their own admission, they're doing better in their schools every year, and they didn't spike our property taxes in town. In fact, the last 2 years we have had 0 increases in our property taxes in Cumberland. Same thing happened in Lincoln. But yet the fear factor that's being thrown out in particular in Woonsocket, the Rise Academy, Woonsocket, North Smithfield, and Burrillville, is that somehow this is going to destroy the finances of their school system, and it's also going to impact large spikes in property taxes, that's not going to happen.
Now look, every time you come on and you make that kind of assertion, I'll get 32 emails from people who say you are absolutely the biggest phony baloney going, da-da-da, So you'll agree, right, to sit with those folks when I get the emails that you will send, those of you who will, to say the Lieutenant Governor is spinning, he's got this mission to be the charter school god, it's all an ego thing, but you will come on the show and you guys can have a fair conversation about the merits of both arguments, correct?
We're hoping that this becomes a public debate, and I expect that that's going to happen. And that's the reason that we're out right now is that, look, we're talking about the school funding formula as if that's the real issue on everybody's mind. Yet legislation has been proposed to actually stop the mayoral academies from existing and stop school choice from providing the competition that our district schools need to actually perform at higher levels. So then you go into the summer, which I think was the time frame where I think that there's been, we know who is behind wanting to shut down the mayoral academies. A recall in North Smithfield, a lawsuit that they've lost right now. In fact, in that lawsuit, the teachers union were thrown out of that lawsuit by the judge because they had a financial interest in that. So it was all about their paychecks and all about the salary. So, but the one that really is going to really resonate.
Hold that thought.
Yeah.
No, we'll get to the one resonate. Yes. But here's what Judge Silverstein said in that hearing. The interests of the union would seem to center around the number of students and the funding available insofar as it impacts employment and/or compensation. That's what you're talking about.
Absolutely. So
he
now
really squared off the union that way. They're generally not called on that way. When they'll tell you it's about the kids. He just went, come on, it's about your wallets.
And that's credible from a court that is establishing that fact that up till now those cards had not been laid on the table. But when the union filed the lawsuit to stop the mayoral academy from opening up in Woonsocket, a community that has 58% graduation rate, it has a 68% of the teachers who have more than 10 days off in the schools that need them the most, where the lowest incomes are.
So wait a second. 58% graduation.
68%.
58% graduation.
58% graduation.
Not good.
Not good.
Okay. The 68% or 65% of the teachers take what?
At least 10 days or more off a year.
In addition to their vacation.
That's correct.
In what, sick days and personal days?
In a school system that is struggling, yes. So, and then we have the high.
Well, that's an attendance problem.
That's an attendance problem, and the students fall into the same category as well. So when the union decided to file suit and get the city council on board in Woonsocket to do that, it was all under this pretense of the school funding formula. Yet we know now what it was about. The judge spelled it out very clearly. The union has a responsibility to protect its membership, and that's what they're doing. So, and then when they take it one step further, Dan, one step further, we know that the mayoral academy is the target. They don't want mayors involved. We just showed it with Paulette Hamilton's recall vote. They don't want mayors involved because mayors have a responsibility for the entire communities, the health of the entire communities, which includes all the students in there, and they had no vehicle to do that. And the point that I would make, which I think is a very important one that's going to play out, is that where the Rise Academy is located now and opened up on Tuesday.
In Woonsocket.
I was there.
Yes.
Mayor Baldelli Hunt was there. Town Administrator Hamilton was there. Town Council Member Chris Beauchamp was there. All municipal leaders interested in public schools. There's a suit that says that Rise Academy is in a building where the zoning doesn't allow them to be there. At the very same time that that suit is filed and the construction's going on under permits that are legal, Beacon Charter, another charter school, is building in that same address out classrooms. They didn't get sued. So the target is
who's suing?
It's being sued by right now the city council is suing.
So the city council is suing over the construction, zoning, blah 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 of the one charter mayoral academy charter school, but not the other.
Which the union was involved in until the judge dismissed them from the case.
So you're saying it's a specious lawsuit?
It is directly on the mayoral academy. In fact, we're countersuing because it's discriminating against kids that in one case, and then giving a pass to others when they shouldn't be discriminating against any kids.
All right, so what's the moral of the story here? I mean, when you first began this pursuit of an alternative way to provide public education, known as the mayoral academies, you were the mayor of Cumberland. All Harvarded up with your thoughts and wonky policies and all that kind of stuff, and you've done a great job. I mean, just an awesome job in creating, with others obviously, this alternative and competitive and provocative education thing. But now you're the lieutenant governor. So you sit here making much of the same arguments you would as if you were the mayor. How does that all fit into your charge and your politics? Is Governor Raimondo with you on this? Are you a free agent on this? Where does it all fit?
Well, I think that the governor is very much aligned with the ideas that we need great public schools. She's certainly focused, as I am, and everybody in the state should be, on a good economy. We're not going to have a great economy, I've gone over this a number of times, unless you have great public schools. And based on my experiences of mayor, we're not going to have great public schools unless there's a competition that actually creates the leverage that the changes are going to happen in the districts.
That's the key concept. You shouldn't race through that, because you're driving other people crazy watching the show who also see themselves as public school advocates, thinking that you're tearing down the public school system with this thing. And what you're saying is an intra competitive environment is what will make all the schools better, correct?
Yeah, they're going to respond, and they're going to have to respond. And in Woonsocket, you're going to see a change, and over a 3 to 5 year time frame, you're going to see a change on how the delivery of the public education happens inside the public district schools right now.
Okay.
That is not happening right now.
All right, so summarize. Where are we now? Where are we now? What's the battle? What's the question? What's the last thing you want people to think about on this subject matter?
Well, I think what we got to think about is, look, the status quo, which I think has been spelled out in the courts. We know who is pushing back. If we're satisfied, and that's the question that we asked in this op-ed and the first op-ed that we put out as Lieutenant Governor on the electric rates, can we do better? If you believe we can do better, then people need to wake up and understand that we're being told that they're going to shut down school choice because of a funding formula that needs to be addressed, and we're going to address that. That's in the works right now, and we're working with the governor's office and our office to do that. So what is at stake here is, do you want to protect the status quo, right? Tell your General Assembly members, if you do want to protect the status quo, then allow them to keep on moving ahead and take out competition in our public schools that we've been able to develop over the years, in particular the Mayoral Academy, because that's the target. Obviously, the other charters aren't, otherwise they would have sued both schools. Or do you believe that we can do better, as I do, and support the competition and support the people who are trying to drive the changes that we need in the state to create a better economy?
All right. You got all that? When we come back, what do you do with these fire districts? Do you think you have the answer? He might. Is anybody? Stay with us.
Voters last June gave us our marching orders,
Which was to?
which was basically cut the budget and, if necessary, dissolve the district.
Is the district necessary?
No, I don't think it is.
So you're chairing a board running a district that you don't think is necessary.
We're about 3 square miles.
But when you tell me you're trying to save the district, isn't that contradictory?
No, because the Central Coventry district, which is next to us, which is much larger, is in worse financial shape than we are, and there's no way.
My goodness, the headache that you get when you're talking about these fire districts is unbelievable. Now listen, Lieutenant Governor, you have been charged by executive order by the governor to really be a project manager when it comes to the mezzanine form of government and municipalities and regionalization and all of that, and you've accepted that charge, correct?
Yes.
The fire districts are its own anomaly. In our own hometown, disclosure, resident, Cumberland, me, the fire districts have merged into one fire district.
First step, yeah.
Yeah, which is miserably short of what I think should happen, which is they ought to just be a municipal fire department. I would submit,
I think you'll see that day.
Yeah. Do you agree with me that Frank Palin's Coventry Fire District that we were just talking about there, the Central Coventry Fire District that he was referring to next door, and every one of these suckers ought to be eliminated over some period of time because they're just a dangling government archaic participle whose time is over?
Yes, I do. The governance models, that's what we're talking about in the state of Rhode Island. We just talked in the earlier segment about the schools and why there's need for change. We should be reviewing every governance model out there if there's redundancy or there's some level of duplication or something in there that is not working, that might have worked in the 50s but not working in the 2015, 2020. We should be really approaching that. This is an opportunity to do just that.
Meaning, I mean, you use all these very cool terms, the governance model. Well, the governance model in these fire districts is that at the fire station they run these meetings and they vote on elected representatives and policies and budgets, and whoever happens to remember there's a meeting shows up to the garage, and most of the people who show up to the garage are the people that need to benefit from what's being voted on, and usually they're firefighters, all due respect to firefighters, but there's a difference between municipal unions and local unions, and the whole thing gets fixed, and you get these terrible decisions, and they're all self-involved, and then they create deficits, and then no one knows what to do with the deficits, and they say, oh, we don't know what to do now, and then the state comes in on one district, like Central Coventry, and spends $2 million, and they still haven't fixed the deal,
yes.
And so the state doesn't want to come in on the next one because they already make a mistake, and nobody knows how to, and nobody can catch the ball.
That's right.
Okay, so what are you going to do? Because
Well,
someone's got to do something. Are you charged with your executive order from the governor right now to engage this process thing?
The executive order, which we helped draft, I wrote it in a way as if I was a mayor, and that if it's enabling and it allows communities to call our office, or in this case the fire district to call our office, and then we will respond.
All right, what have you done? Are you working on this Coventry Fire District? It's one fire station with 14 firefighters, and it's in the top. It's in the top of the news because they can't make the payroll today.
Yeah, and you can't have a small group of people pushing a large group of people around, and that's why you need to look at the governance models to kind of get it right. At the same point in time, what we did in Cumberland, not only in the police contract, the most recent police contract, we made sure that we protected the police officers in a way, but we also reset the strategy in terms of how new officers would be paid and compensated. In the fire district, right, one of the good things that we did there is the fact that we did merge them into 4 districts, but we actually made the board elected as a town council member was, so the entire town elects that board. That's in the end, that's going to be very important. These small districts that are operating on the old budget, meeting pilot strategy as you just described, that no longer works. It's showing that it doesn't work, and that needs to be addressed.
What can you do in Coventry specifically now?
So what's happening is, and I can say that the town manager of Coventry has called me early on, a few weeks back. We've had 3 different meetings by his request, 2 in Coventry, 1 in the State House, with the division of, I guess, the taxation, the administration side, and we're talking through it. And I think that's the best that we can do right now. But we are, and now I've put a call into Frank. I'm going to meet with Frank early next week. Frank Palin,
The chairman we just saw.
the chairman, and the function that I'm going to take right now is, look, I'm going to talk to people, and I'm going to listen to what they say, and I'm going to share my experiences with them. But based on what I've heard so far, Dan, this is solvable. It's solvable. It's a matter of getting the parties together in a way that protects the taxpayers.
Well,
but
some people think
you
you can't get water from a rock, but you think you can manage the $1 million deficit on a $2.5 million annual budget where the money coming in is any more than $2.5 million, but you think you can figure out a way to make the numbers work?
I think you do things on an interim basis as you set the table for a future strategy.
Does it require a state infusion of cash?
I don't think that's necessarily not an option that's on the table right now as far as the governor's office. I think that she's smart with the fact that why jump in to we've already seen that the state has exhausted a serious amount of resources in the Central Coventry on that bankruptcy. I think you need to find a spot where, and you're going to need to amend that Fiscal Stability Act in a way that gives the state more flexibility to be nimble and to handle these things on a one-on-one basis.
The Fiscal Stability Act is this measure by which the state comes in and runs your town.
They run the town.
And then they voted the legislature to make it good for the fire districts, which is just a nightmare.
Well, they also, the step into the bankruptcy proceedings is extremely expensive. The step into the into the budget board strategies that they would have is absolutely so cumbersome that you're not nimble enough to make quick decisions.
You think you can help resolve this thing and get it back on its feet before you kill it eventually? I mean, you're going to try to kill these fire districts? Is that a project I hope that you will
Well,
take
I don't think
on?
you're going to kill fire departments. I think you're going to try to realign and restructure.
Destroy the governance model.
That's correct. And reset so that you have public safety that the community wants and that they can afford. But I don't think you want to just. I think it's foolish to just think that you just can you eliminate it. That's not in the best interest of the people who live in our town.
All right, well, I can argue that some more, but it ain't good right now. A couple other issues. We'll get back. Stay with us. Okay, that's the attorney suing a whole bunch of defendants on 38 studios. Listen, the governor of the state of Rhode Island during her campaign in 2014 agreed that she needs to launch an investigation on 38 studios. You were involved in some of the politics of 38 yourself as the lieutenant gubernatorial candidate. We now have the same judge who, by the way, issued that decision in Woonsocket that we showed you before, has made a pretty conscientious decision to open up all the paperwork, the depositions, and all the files on the 38 studios lawsuit. What is your take on A, whether the state should launch an investigation either from the governor's auspice, the House Speaker's auspice, or both?
So I was on the record with that. I really haven't changed that position. I think there's just two issues here on the 38 studios. There's the legal component that I think that the people who are in law enforcement should be handling, and hopefully they are. And then there's the political issues that surrounded that, and I think that there should be an open look at who know what, when, and how that laid out.
The House Speaker says we don't investigate ourselves. Well, Washington investigates itself all the time. The House of Representatives and the Senate have hearings on their own comportment all the time. Why can't we do that here? I
think that, like I said, I think you separate the two. You have to have patience on the legal side of the deal, more patience than some people have. But on the politics, I think that's going to happen. It's just inevitable that you're going to lay out. There's going to be a laid out of an argument about how that happened and how that occurred. You know, people think there's a smoking gun there. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But the people need to know that.
The governor said she wants to wait to see what comes out of this deposition drop.
Let me. I'm going to say that the politics that surrounded us, right? Whether that's investigated today or a year from now, it's not. It's more important that we're focusing on the things we did. Remember, the last administration that we had, Dan, was focused on some things that had nothing to do with the economy, and it got us way off track. So I think that we're right. I know that we disagree on that, but I think we're right to be focusing on the economy and not getting derailed on that.
Every public-private partnership, everything that requires taxpayer money is clouded by 38 studios, and unless we give ourselves a legal and political enema on the whole thing, it won't be any better.
And I think that you're right there, and I think it needs to happen, but the timing on it needs to happen in such a way that you're not derailing the current economy and the efforts to really promote that. And if you do that and you make it all about that piece, then it's going to be just like the issues that
I think we can walk and
handled by
chew
the
gum at the same time.
I don't think that can happen because I think you're going to
come on the radio soon and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. But definitely,
Happy Labor Day.
It should happen.
Okay, good.
I think it will.
Don't forget your hat.
Okay.
Final word.
Let me put it on. Let me put it on.
Next Friday night, Bob Watson, the only legislator that screened about 38 studios, will be here. Make a note of that. If you're watching on Friday, you get a chance to see this show repeated on Labor Day Monday. If you're watching on Labor Day, you'll see Ted Nesi talking about 38 studios on Tuesday. You got all that? And Monday through Friday, the radio from noon to 3 on WPRO. Good night.